Mama, welcome to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Michelle Gibbs, and this podcast exists to help scholarly mamas like you to achieve your life and academic goals without sacrificing what matters most. Here, we're changing the overwhelm, juggle, struggle narrative around what it means to be a mama on an academic journey to one of empowerment, fulfillment, and purposeful success. So how do we successfully navigate these journeys? Well, first, we need the space to embrace this unique blend. Let's begin by saying yes to creating a life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside, because that's when we truly become purposefully whole. So get ready for the most non-traditional, unconventional, and revolutionary approach to PhD motherhood, because one thing I have learned over my many years of experience on this journey is that if you want something different, you have to do something different. But you must be brave enough to think differently first. So, Mama, are you in? Fabulous! Let's begin. These are our journeys of becoming. Hey Mama, welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. You know, I'm so grateful to have you here and to check in with you week after week and support you along your way to your goals, academic goals or otherwise. And today's episode is no different. Today's episode I have entitled From PhD Panic to Purposeful Progress on Part-Time Hours, because I want to address head on this guilt that we feel as mamas juggling many hats, wearing many hats, and having loads of commitments while we are navigating a doctoral journey. And I want to talk about this and kind of share my experience of how I went from feeling this sense of panic, feeling this sense of overwhelm, feeling this sense of guilt, feeling this sense of burden by the expectations that were around me to finish fast and to, get ahead of the game, and why I chose to do otherwise, why I chose to do the exact opposite of that. And obviously where that led me to. So without further ado, let's get into it. I remember when I was about to begin my PhD journey and I was applying for the funding to allow me to do this. I remember having the choice of, do I do my PhD full time and finish faster, or do I do my PhD part-time and take that bit longer to finish? I am not here to tell you whether you should do your PhD full-time or whether you should do your PhD part-time, because that's a personal choice. It comes down to so many factors. It's impossible to have a one-size-fits-all prescription for how anybody should do their PhD, let alone mamas who are juggling a myriad of other balls on this journey. So this is not a prescription, but what I am saying to you is I was stuck in that whirlwind of expectations as well. The pressure to, publish, to present, to push forward, to get ahead at breakneck speed. And it was actually overwhelming. It was overwhelming. And adding to that, the pressures and the demands of motherhood, of part-time work, I literally felt like I was drowning. And when I was faced with the choice to do my PhD full-time or do my PhD part-time, I vividly remember feeling that pressure. And this was really interesting for me because I had just finished a part-time MRes, which worked for me. It was manageable doing it part-time. And yet I felt that pressure of, should I go full-time for my PhD because I just spent 2 years doing a master's of clinical research? Should I go and do my PhD full-time so that I can finish faster? And when you haven't got the benefits of somebody who's been through this, who's navigated this journey as a mama, when you haven't got that, you are at the mercy of lots of other competing ideas, opinions, and, judgments from people who really want the best for you, but their own fears are being projected onto you. And then you feel the fear of making the wrong decision. Am I going to be left behind? The fear of making that wrong decision was so real for me, because this really was one big unknown for me. I had no idea what to expect. And I tell you, fear can make us think some interesting things. Even when we know what's best for us, we still have the burden of expectations, of judgment, of what other people are going to think. But it's that fear of falling behind, the fear of being perceived as less committed, less capable, not dedicated enough. If I chose to do my PhD part-time, would I be left behind? Because I was surrounded by colleagues who were not mothers, who were not parents, and they didn't have these same considerations. They were able to choose, and most of them were full-time in their PhD journey, and I was not. Because in the end, I chose to do my PhD on part-time hours. I chose to do my PhD part-time. And what that looked like in practice was that there were some times on my journey where I had to push a little bit harder and put more hours into my PhD. And there were times where I could pull back a little bit and focus more on other aspects of my life or my work and other things that I was doing. And I remember seeing so many people, so many of my colleagues, so many of the other PhD students that were in the same office as me. I remember seeing them come and go, literally begin and finish their PhDs, and I was still there. Imagine for a moment how that must have felt, right? Imagine. And I'm sure some of you probably feel exactly like this. You're probably thinking to yourself, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe this is not for me. Maybe I cannot actually see this journey through because all these other people are somehow able to make this work, but they don't have the same demands that I have. They're not juggling the same balls that I am. So maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe you're thinking that because you too are caught up in that whirlwind of comparison and expectations, which is exactly what's keeping you stuck. It's keeping you stuck in this fixed mindset that unless you do this fast, you're not doing it well. In order to do it well, you need to do it fast. And therefore, you get into a state of PhD panic, which is very, very unhelpful. And I want you to stop for a moment and ask yourself, why do I feel like this? Why am I allowing the expectations, the standards, the burden, and the pace set by other people? Why am I allowing all of these external factors to tell me who I am and what I am capable of? Why am I doing that? Right? And I remember sitting literally in that office, as I said, feeling completely defeated, feeling like helpless. How am I going to get this done? Am I ever going to be one of the ones who's tidying up the desk and walking out of that office for the last time? When will that day come for me? Because I felt that pressure, spoken or unspoken. I felt that pressure of needing to finish fast. I felt that PhD panic of, oh my goodness, time is of the essence and I need to finish fast. So then I had to make that choice. Do I want to pursue my PhD part-time and at my own pace? Or do I want to succumb to that pressure to want to finish as quickly as I could and juggle all of my balls, potentially unsuccessfully, while at it? And so here is the truth, Mama. Here is the truth. Taking the slow route, taking the slow path, the part-time hours path, was actually the best decision I ever made. The best decision I ever made, because I chose to pursue my PhD part-time. This allowed me to work. This allowed me to be present for my children's milestones. This allowed me to savor bedtime stories and nighttime tuck-ins, and it allowed me to find joy in the everyday moments of motherhood. Because one of the things that I realized in that moment was, this was my journey. This was my journey to navigate. No one else's. Was it a scary thought that I was the only part-time person in the department and that I was the only one who was navigating this as a mama, and that I was a rarity in what is typically a male-dominated environment, and an environment that maybe there aren't as many other mamas to relate to in terms of this PhD journey. Was that a scary thing? Yes, it was. Was I worried about being perceived as less serious about my work and not committed enough and all the rest of it? Yeah, I did for a moment. But you know what? Those fears were unfounded, because by slowing down, I actually gained lots of things, including clarity and focus. I was able to really take the time with my PhD journey, figure some hard stuff out, navigate my way through that with so much clarity and focus, because I had the time to truly engage with what I was doing. And I developed, because of that, very unique perspectives about what it means to blend an academic journey with real life as a working mama. And you know what? I still finished well, because I gave myself permission to evolve and grow as a mama and as a researcher. So if you are a scholarly mama and you are feeling the pressure to sprint to the finish line because that's what everybody else is doing, I am here to tell you it's okay if it suits your circumstances to choose the slow lane. In fact, it's more than okay. It can actually be a path to success and fulfillment for scholarly mamas. So here are 3 key takeaways from my journey from PhD panic to purposeful progress on part-time hours. Is it possible to navigate this successfully on part-time hours? You know my answer is going to be 100% yes, it is possible. Okay, so here are 3 key takeaways that you may wish to consider. So the first key takeaway for me is we have to get to a point where we can define success on our terms. Success isn't just about how quickly you finish your PhD or how many papers you publish or how many prestigious conferences you've been to. Success is about the quality of your work and the quality of your life. That is what success is all about. So when you're thinking about success and defining this for yourself, first deciding that you are going to take your own path, defining what success looks like for you, and actually going about it, going out there and doing the work and making it happen. When you can do that, you position yourself for what I call purposeful success, success on your terms. And here's the thing about purposeful success. Purposeful success begins with purposeful decisions. And the path to purposeful success is purposeful progress. So when you are thinking about, when you're in this PhD panic and you're thinking, oh my goodness, what should I do? Start with purposeful decisions. Start there, right? What is it that you want to achieve, and what path will get you there in a way that works for your circumstances, in a way that doesn't burn you out, in a way that brings you joy and satisfaction and peace of mind, right? When you are on your way to that purposeful success via purposeful progress, then that eliminates all of this panic and pressure to conform to pathways that may potentially lead to regret later on, even when you finish the PhD, right? So you want to be thinking about, what purposeful decisions do I need to make to get me on the path to purposeful progress? And that might be on part-time hours so that I can achieve purposeful success. That is what purposeful success is all about. It begins with purposeful decisions, and you get there with purposeful progress. Focusing on the progress and not the destination. It is not about how quickly you get there. It is not about all the prestige that comes with getting there. It's about the journey, the lessons, the learning, the experience, the growth, the personal growth, the development that you are gaining on this journey. without sacrificing the things that really matter to you, without having to give up every weekend because, you've got the PhD to work on and you can't spend any time with your family. Without all of that, right? Focusing on purposeful progress will get you to purposeful success. The second key takeaway that I want to share with you is to really embrace your unique perspective. Your experiences as a mama, as a wife, as, whatever you are in your real life, they enrich your academic journey. So don't hide them, celebrate them, embrace who you are as a mama, as a wife, as a PhD student, as a fill in the blanks professional, whatever you are. Embrace all of that. Embrace your whole being, your whole existence. Who are you? Get to know yourself and love yourself and cherish your unique perspective. I remember just thinking about listening to some of the conversations that would happen in the office and recognizing that the people in that office, they really valued the wisdom, the life skills, the life experience that I had. I was offering them that unique perspective that they weren't getting from anyone else in the office. And of course, it was a mutual exchange. I was learning things from them too, and learning things from their experiences and their perspectives as well. But I wasn't there to pretend to be anything that I wasn't. I wasn't there to become anything I didn't want to become. I was there to be me. I was there to do my PhD. I was there to do my PhD as a scholarly mama. And I was not ashamed of that. In fact, I was very proud of that. So don't hide your identity as a scholarly mama. Celebrate it. Embrace it. Own it. And go out there and do yourself proud. The third takeaway I wanted to share with you is about building a supportive network, building your own little village. And I'm not talking about friends and family here. I'm talking about people who are on the same journey as you, who are navigating this journey as a mama as well. This is the one thing that I have to say I really struggle with when I was navigating my own PhD journey, because I didn't have this, right? This is one of the motivations behind Scholarly Mamas and Mrs. Mummy PhD. It really is to provide a space where scholarly mamas feel like they belong, that they are part of something bigger than themselves, that they're doing purposeful work, that their journey matters as well, that their voice, their journey, it matters. That is the purpose for this space. I know that this is invaluable. I know that. And I'm grateful to be a vessel through which this space can be created. And I am so happy that you've chosen to be a part of this, whether you're listening to this podcast, whether you're a member of Scholarly Mamas, whether you're one of my coaching clients, however you are engaging with this movement, I am so grateful for that, because I know that when we as Scholarly Mamas win, where it matters, everyone wins. So mama, those are my 3 key takeaways for you. To define success on your terms, to embrace your unique perspective, and to find yourself a supportive community or network. Remember that academia needs your voice. It needs your perspective and your brilliance. You are an intelligent, ambitious, scholarly mama. That means a lot, and that says a lot about you. And it is okay with that identity to pursue your goals, to go after your dreams in a way that works for you. When I look back on my progress as a PhD student, I feel lots of pride. I feel proud of how I navigated this journey. And I feel proud of the woman, the mama, the person that I have become because of it. Wherever it leads, I am so proud of myself for seeing this journey through and for focusing on purposeful progress on part-time hours as opposed to PhD panic. And before we finish up this episode, I just wanted to share an experience with you that kind of illustrates the challenges that we face and how that sometimes can get us into a state of PhD panic, and how we can choose purposeful progress over PhD panic. I remember when I was coming back from one of my maternity leaves. Of course, as you know, I had 2 of our 3 sons during my PhD, because we had our first son before I began my PhD, and then we had our second or third son during my PhD. And I remember when I was coming back from one of the maternity leaves, we had arranged for our son to be in nursery. We had booked him in even when I was pregnant. And so he was booked into nursery. He began nursery just a couple of weeks before I went back to my PhD. And I remember him catching literally every illness under the sun. He literally got conjunctivitis, hand, foot, and mouth, some kind of flu, some kind of tummy bug. It was just like relentless. Bug after illness, after sickness. Oh, it was everything all happening at once, all within the first month of him being at nursery. Because of course he was just, thrusted into an environment that his body wasn't used to, and he wasn't used to being all around so many other kids in this new nursery environment. And we know what kids are like. If you don't know, sharing is caring at nursery, right? So yes. All the bugs were coming home and being passed on to all the rest of us. It was really a tough season. It really was one of the toughest times during my PhD, to be honest. And so I remember him catching everything and just thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I've resumed my PhD, but I've hardly been in because I've been off with my son who's been unwell. And my husband has been off, and we've all been taking turns with the sickness. But this is going to be a real uphill battle. This is going to be a bit of a struggle. And I remember on my thesis progress report that, once I'd resumed my PhD, a couple of weeks after getting into it, we had to do one of these progress review things. And I remember it being stated that I was struggling with blending my PhD and personal commitments. And I remember reading that and just feeling a sense of, I felt misunderstood to begin with, but also I felt a sense of absolute determination, because I was like, no, I may be struggling, but this is part of my personal growth. This is part of my journey, right? And it won't always be like this. I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of. And there was no way that I was going to be deterred from the goals that I'd set for myself. I just needed to give myself grace to realize, you know what? This is hard right now. I'm not going to pretend it's not. It's hard. I'm going to acknowledge that. But I refuse to believe that it was impossible. And I will find a way. I just need to tell my brain that it's possible and that I will find a way. And I did find a way. I was saying this to my son recently as well, to our middle son. We were having a conversation because he was getting really upset about something. And I was saying to him that all feelings are welcome here. All behaviors are not. This is a quote that my husband had gotten from a podcast he was listening to. And the reason why that resonated with me and why I shared it with my son was that, it's okay to feel the grief of a situation. It's okay to feel sad, frustrated, upset, all those things. But the moment your brain starts to tell you these lies about what's possible and what's not, and what you're capable of and what you're not, and you choose to believe it, it's all over, it's never going to happen for you. Your brain can't engage with that. You are shutting your brain down from any opportunity to find a solution. And so in those moments, we acknowledge the feeling and own it and call it out. Yeah, we do that. But we don't let that determine our future. We don't let that be a prescription for the future. So if you are navigating your PhD journey and you are in one of these PhD panic episodes where you are feeling that pressure to conform to those expectations, to, do more than is beyond your capacity to do, you don't even know how you are going to see this PhD through to completion and actually make your dreams a reality because you are feeling so overwhelmed and all you want to do is quit. I just want to say to you that it's okay to slow down if you have to. It's okay to do this journey on part-time hours. And this doesn't have to mean that you are part-time officially as a PhD student, but it could mean that you find a way to slow things down in this season of scholarly motherhood, even if that's temporarily. Open your mind to the possibilities of how you can navigate this season, just so that you can get through this busy season, right? Get yourself back on track and position yourself to be able to see this journey through in a sustainable way. And so I hope that if you are in that season, that this episode has been a reminder for you that you can still have purposeful progress on part-time hours, even if you are a mama and you're juggling many hats and you're not able to put in the amount of time into your PhD as you see other people doing who are not juggling those same commitments. So that's all I've got for today. But until next time, mama, as always, I am sending you lots of love and lots of gratitude, and I hope you stay encouraged. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and if you did and you want in on this movement, please head over to mrsmummyphd.com or scholarlymamas.com. If you want to do your PhD well without sacrificing yourself or those you love dearest, then you need your hands on my free training called the PhD with Purpose Webinar. When you join us inside Scholarly Mamas Explore, you'll get access to this free training and so much more. Remember, mama, these are our journeys of becoming.